better than Genesis. Hey everybody, and thanks for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. So last night I went out and caught the newest Terminator movie in theaters, Terminator Dark Fate. The 6th movie in the Terminator franchise, and the one that's trying to be the definitive sequel to Terminator 2. But did it hit that mark? Well, here are all my thoughts and opinions on Terminator Dark Fate. Directed by Tim Miller and starring Mackenzie Davis, Natalia Reyes, Gabriel Luna, and sees the return of Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor and Arnold Schwarzenegger as the T-800. When Danny, played by Natalia Reyes, is in danger from a Terminator from the future, played by Gabriel Luna, an enhanced human from the future, Grace, played by Mackenzie Davis, is sent back in time to keep her safe. But they are joined by an unexpected third party when they cross paths with an aging Sarah Connor, once again played by Linda Hamilton. So let's talk about the stuff that I liked about Dark Fate. First off, the return of Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor was awesome. She doesn't miss a beat jumping back into this character. She's grizzled, she doesn't take any crap from anyone, and even though she's older, she can still kick a lot of butt, and she does kick a lot of butt in this movie. They also put her character through a great trauma. A trauma that you're either going to be on board with, or you're really going to dislike. It was really awesome to see Linda Hamilton return as Sarah Connor for this franchise, and she was definitely one of the saving graces of the movie. I also thought the action scenes were actually a lot of fun. They were big, over the top, much like the later Terminator films. And Mackenzie Davis as Grace really could hold her own in these action scenes. I thought she did a great job with these action scenes and pulled them off in a very believable way. I also liked how the story went kind of back to basics of just a Terminator sent back to the future to kill someone and another person from the future trying to keep that person safe. I liked going back to the roots of the franchise, that simplistic plot, and not having this movie be so over convoluted and having too many storylines and subplots put into the mix. I also like the new Terminator played by Gabriel Luna. He's called the Rev 9 model. He's basically like the T-1000. He has all the capabilities of the T-1000, just a little bit more advanced. And he's able to do a couple new things with technology that the T-1000 wasn't able to do, but for the most part, he's basically a T-1000 2.0. And the way that they use his abilities of the Rev 9 in action scenes, I thought was actually pretty cool, and it was kind of creative at times. And how they handled the return of Arnold Schwarzenegger into this movie kind of continued the theme from Terminator 2, where what does it mean to be human? What is a human? What defines a human? They kind of expand on that theme from Terminator 2, and I kind of liked where they were going for with the movie, but this kind of brings me in to my negatives about the movie. There's too much ideas and concepts and things that they were going for in this movie that nothing really seems to stick or have enough time dedicated to it. They give a lot of characters stuff that they're dealing with and stuff that they're going through that we have to learn about, and they don't have enough time to focus on every single one of them, to the point where they're trying to have an emotional scene and try to put heart into the movie. It doesn't feel like we have enough time to sit in that emotion and that heart, and it just kind of comes across as kind of rushed and dull, and it just didn't have the focus that I feel it deserved. Also, this movie takes place right after Terminator 2, and they said that this was trying to be the definitive sequel to Terminator 2. The 3, Salvation and Genesis, never happened. This is the one that comes right after Judgment Day. And I feel like they missed the mark on making this the definitive sequel, because it feels like Terminator 2 was just on their minds too much while they were making this, and it kind of had a lot of similarities and beats and imagery and scenes that were very similar to the previous Terminator and Terminator 2, to the point where it gave the movie a very dull feeling for me. It wasn't necessarily bad. It was just kind of like, I've been there, seen that, done this before. I've seen this done better in T2. I've seen this done better in the Terminator. Heck, I've even seen this done better in Terminator Salvation. Because of that feeling of similarities and copies, but none of it being done better, this movie has this feeling of, why even make this movie? Like, why does this movie even exist? Why did they feel the need to make this movie if they were just going to do what we had seen done previously, just not better? The new cast in this movie, they're not very memorable in my mind. I thought Mackenzie Davis as Grace did a good job in the role, but her character was kind of annoying to me. And Danny, played by Natalia Reyes, she didn't really get much development as a character. We didn't get to learn much about her. She really is a complete MacGuffin. Kind of like how Sarah Connor was in the first Terminator, but even in the first Terminator, I would argue that Sarah Connor had some character and some development. I didn't really get that sense with this Danny character. And if they were to do future movies with her, I could maybe see her developing more, becoming more of her own character, but in this movie alone, she's really not that interesting. And Gabriel Luna, for the most part, was just doing his best Robert Patrick impression, being the emotionless Terminator, which he does a pretty good job with. And he is able to do his own thing with the Terminator as well. He's able to be a little bit more charismatic and more charming with people, which was kind of a cool idea. But my problem with his Terminator, I never felt any intensity or danger when it came to him coming after our protagonists and our main characters. That was missing for me in this movie, was the sense of danger and intensity and edge of your seat, kind of like suspense feeling that we got in Terminator 2, while the action scenes are a lot of fun and they're big and they're crazy and CGI heavy and fun to watch and pretty well put together, there's just no sense of danger or intensity during them, and I felt like that was missing. I wanted more of that. And going into some of the CGI, it's not always great. There's actually one scene where they de-aged Linda Hamilton, and it took me off guard. It looked great. But the rest of the CGI in the movie with like the Rev 9 that I was worried about in the trailer, how it looked, that's how it looks in the movie, and sometimes it took me completely out of the movie. There was one scene where during an action scene, these two characters are fighting, and it's completely CGI heavy. It looked, you know how in Spider-Man 3 when Venom and Spider-Man are fighting as they're falling? That's how it looked. I'm not even kidding. That's exactly what it looked like. As I watched it, I had flashbacks to Spider-Man 3 and that one scene, and I don't think that's very good. Yeah, the CGI in this movie, for the most part, I could see being dated in like 5 to 10 years. It doesn't look phenomenal, which kind of made sense to me because Tim Miller did Deadpool, and the CGI in this movie kind of looks similar to the CGI in Deadpool, but Deadpool could get away with it because it was kind of a lower budget film and it worked for the comic book environment that they had established. With the Terminator Dark Fate, the CGI look from Deadpool doesn't really translate too well for the Terminator, especially after Terminator 2 makes it look so good, and this doesn't even hold a candle to the effects in Terminator 2, which is sad because Terminator 2 came out in 1991. You'd think they'd be better by now, but they just weren't. In the end, guys, Terminator Dark Fate I thought was okay. It didn't hit the mark as well as I wanted it to for being the definitive Terminator 3, so to speak. I felt like they could have done something a little bit more different. I like that they went back to the roots, for sure. I'm not complaining about them going back to the roots, but it felt so similar to T2 and T1 that I'm just like, I'm going to watch T1 and T2. I'm not going to feel like watching this movie after I watch Terminator 2. And that's kind of where I feel like they failed with the definitive sequel aspect, because I should feel after watching Terminator 2 that I need to watch Dark Fate to get the completion of the story. But I don't feel that way. In fact, if Sarah Connor and Arnold Schwarzenegger weren't really in this movie would be way more forgettable to me than it is right now. Having Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor and Arnold Schwarzenegger back as a T-800 in this movie made me way more invested in this movie than I would have been otherwise if it was just this new set of characters. And for that reason, while I found enjoyment in Terminator Dark Fate, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad movie, I also don't think it's that great. And if you're not too on board with the Terminator franchise as of right now, and you were wanting this to get you back on board, I really don't think it's going to do that. I think it'll be a good time. I think you'll enjoy most of it. But it definitely has some flaws and some issues, and there's something in there that is going to either make it or break it for you, and I really would not blame you if it broke it for you. So yeah, not the home run I was looking for. A little bit of a letdown, but hey, that's the Terminator franchise at this point. Anyway, guys, those are all my thoughts and opinions on Terminator Dark Fate. But what did you think about Terminator Dark Fate? Is this your definitive Terminator 2 sequel? Comment down below, let me know. I want to know all your thoughts and opinions about this movie. And guys, as always, thank you so much for clicking on this video and checking out my channel. Once again, my name's Zachary Milne. Thank you for talking movies with me, and hope you have yourself a great day.